Smart devices in today's modern divorce. Like, how did those come into play and what's the deal? And I think we only, to some extent, somewhat know how this is going to work. But just think about all the new technology in the last few years and how that could end up in court. Like, hello, Ring camera footage. There has been many of those things coming in where there was some sort of a dispute at the front door during an exchange with kids, and the whole thing is caught on the Ring camera. So that's one thing. Some of this stuff can get really scary, y'all. Like some of the houses that are totally outfitted where like lights, locks, Wi-Fi, TV, temperature controls are through like one app. And the person who leaves the house still has access to that app. We even had a situation where it was very hard to get the access back to the person staying in the home. And this person was using all that tech to mess with them. All right. You're going to get in trouble for doing that pretty quickly. But like all of these different devices and even like the Tesla, like on cars, I think where they can track where the car is and do different things remotely. If you both share the car, or maybe even she had the app and she's messing with it while you're trying to be driving or whatever, it could have a huge impact, both in terms of like your safety and your comfort, but then how they're used and can come into the case. So just like if any of that smart stuff, Alexa, Ring camera, Lord knows AI and all of that, all these other devices like that, the smart home stuff, cars with those kinds of apps, be thinking through how they could be recording information about you in your life that can and likely will be used against you. Now, look, there's a lot of really strict laws and rules and even federal laws and rules about when that stuff can be used, when you can't use it anymore, wiretapping, like tracking. Okay, it's a whole complicated thing. So net, don't be using that stuff if you're not supposed to. And if you're not sure, ask a lawyer. But if that's a part of your life, I think you absolutely want to tell the lawyer up front and explain that to them and get to where you can access and change passwords and lock that stuff down as early on as possible. The data that comes out of these smart devices, okay, so say there is all of this data. That's the first hurdle. It exists. The next hurdle is you got to get it into court. And in general, in court, here's the deal with how evidence works in general. The court is sitting there, the judge, you call it like the court when you're talking about the judge. The judge is like, look, how do I know whether the thing in front of me is what it purports to be, or you purport, like you say it is? How do I know that is what you say it is? So sometimes you can do that on the testimony, the words of a witness. So say there's like a photograph, okay? Hey, Mr. Smith, hey, do you recognize this photograph? What do you recognize it to be? How do you know? Are there any identifying characteristics in this photograph? Did you take this photograph? Okay, so I can get it in and basically solicit testimony, get it out of you to convince the judge that, hey, this picture is what we say it is. But think about now with AI, now these deep fakes and the whole thing, y'all, it is an expanding area of the law and it's complicated. But the root question is, how do I know this thing is what it says to be? And for some things, you may need different experts who can come in and prove up how the metadata on a certain kind of file works or on this home device and who had access. So like you may need to go pay someone else with the expertise to convince the judge that this thing is what you say that it is. Like for me, I've been thinking about how with all the AI deepfake stuff, what are we going to, like when there's a video or a photo, how we can know it is what it says that it is. Because if somebody's willing to lie, they may be like, oh yeah, I took that picture. And you're sitting there and you're like, I'm not, that didn't even happen. And there are some tools and stuff out there that lawyers are looking into, but it is like a rapidly expanding area of the law. And it's kind of a little creepy, to be honest. How can you protect your digital privacy during a divorce? And particularly with regard to things like nanny cams or Ring cameras. And I'll talk about in Texas. Okay, so Texas is a one-party consent state. So you can record a conversation in Texas that you're having with someone else if you're the one party that consents. Now, that's not necessarily the same. You can't record in places where you aren't, like bug a room and not be there, right? And that's kind of how it would work in your house. So let's say there's a Ring camera and you're staying behind at the house and she's moved out. Well, in this house, you probably don't have to keep the Ring camera on the door. Like you don't want to, destroy or vandalize property or anything. So I talked to a lawyer about that, but you don't have to keep being subjected to being recorded. And probably your lawyer will argue if that was still happening and the party who moved out was still accessing and looking at it, that they've exceeded authorized access and could be in some like court trouble, maybe even like law, legal, criminally kind of trouble, maybe even federal trouble. So I think the main thing is like if you're in a situation and you think you're being recorded, like just say, I don't consent, I don't want to be recorded. And that would be like if it's in the devices in your home, probably you can just remove those. If it's in like a digital recording when you're meeting with your X Factor person and they're like, going, you're saying, I don't want to be recorded. You won't really know if they are or not. Be like, I don't want to be recorded in this moment. I just want to have a conversation, me and you. But let's say they still do it, and then you get to court. How do you think a judge, even if it's legally, technically allowed, how do you think a judge is going to feel hearing a recording where at the beginning you say, I don't want to be recorded, don't do it. And then they continue to record it? Like that doesn't feel right. And I think you would do more harm than good if that was you with the judge, because it's about consent. Something in us, a lot of these laws relate to consent. I don't consent to you capturing this moment of my life energy. I've had to say that a few times recently, so it's very close to my heart. Like, I don't consent. I don't consent to cameras in my home. I don't consent to you recording me without me saying okay. So that's kind of the way it can play out. It can get really complicated really fast, but I think making it clear you don't consent and revoking consent if you gave it in the past, like taking it back, would probably be the best course of action. And of course, consult with a lawyer and a legal team if that's something you're not quite sure how it would play out in your exact situation. Now, digital surveillance type of stuff could make or break a case for you. So I'm envisioning a situation where the parties have a nanny cam in their house. And that nanny cam, when they're both living there, records a domestic violence incident going down where maybe he chokes her or throws her up against the wall or something. Well, I mean, what better evidence of domestic violence and maybe why you should be the primary parent than an actual literal recording of it happening? So it really can help your case. Just be careful because that stuff cuts both ways. Like if you're recording that other person, you're also recording yourself. And so where people make a big mistake is they'll do this with their kids. They'll record their kids. Oh God, judges get so mad if you do this. They do not like you recording kids. And then 9 times out of 10, the person doing the recording of the child sounds like a big old idiot. Because like, hey, and you're not talking normal, like, because you're on recording. So you're like all of a sudden Pollyanna like this, right? Acting like this. So if you're going to be recording children, proceed with so much caution and definitely talk to a lawyer first. But that digital recording sort of evidence can have a huge impact in your case. Smart devices, AI, wearable tech, glasses that like see through, I don't know, whatever, y'all. There is so much internet stuff happen. That's what I call it all. Internet stuff happening. Every day it changes. Some new thing came out. So like, look, this is the way. This is how it's going to be. We're all in this, learning it together. But I think the best advice you can have is be aware that it exists. Aware that at any moment in time at this point in this day and age, you could be being recorded, and then act accordingly. And if you're going to be the one doing the recording, use some real good common sense. Like if this person is not consenting to the recording, you really probably don't want to be doing it because I think that could backfire. And particularly if it involves recording kids. Like stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go talk to a lawyer to see if that makes good sense. And like mostly every family lawyer I know will tell you definitely don't do that.